This is the culmination of years of training!
Yeah, that's me. Name's Steve. You're probably wondering how I got in this little situation. Well, let me just take you back to where it all started.
So, 2022, kind of a rough year for me. Admittedly, I wanted to post more videos to work out on growing a repertoire, but for one reason or another, life just kept holding me back. Still, I do feel accomplished with the videos I was able to churn out this year, and with the satisfaction of the Blinks video, I might as well end the year off strong with another one of my favorite franchises. And in case the intro stinger and title didn't give it away, let me just tell you, there's strength in numbers. Pikmin. This straight up is one of my favorite series by Nintendo of all time. I remember getting my first taste of Pikmin back during the new Play Control version of Pikmin 1 for Wii, and ever since I never looked back. And with Pikmin 4 slated to come out sometime this next year, I feel it's only fitting to talk about this adorable strategy game. The original Pikmin trilogy is remembered fondly among the Nintendo fanbase, and while it's nowhere near the top 5 of Nintendo's most successful franchises, 1 million sales for each game is nothing to sneeze at. However, the games are not what we're here to talk about, as I personally want to talk about a piece of the franchise that is very near and dear to my heart. The Pikmin short film collection, released in 2014 on the Nintendo Wii U and 3DS. These 3 short films, The Night Juicer, Treasure in a Bottle, and Occupational Hazards, were produced by Nintendo themselves, with help from TK3 Inc. and Dynamo Pictures, with Shigeru Miyamoto himself being the executive producer. These were shown at the Tokyo International Film Festival on October of 2014, and the full set were available for purchase on November 5th of the same year on both the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U. Each of these stories basically show the kinds of shenanigans that Olimar and his naive companions of Pikmin get into on the planet of PNF 404. Now, say what you will about Miyamoto, I admit the man feels kinda stuck in his old ways when it comes to video games, but man, does he still know how to bring out creativity in his projects. These movies are so beautiful with their crisp animations, vivid environments, and amount of personality they put into their characters without a single word being uttered. What more is there to say? Well, admittedly a lot, but let's go ahead and get into it as we break these shorts down one by one to see just what makes these 3 adorable Pikmin shorts just so fun to watch. Now, the first short, The Night Juicer, isn't really much to write home about. It's the shortest of the 3 and is about a minute in length. It mainly centers around Olimar relaxing in his downtime, making a delicious smoothie of Pikmin carrots, when the Pikmin come in and accidentally interpret it as him hacking apart one of their own brethren and blending it into a drink. Jeez. I know that the Pikmin games are meant to be for kids, but I'm gonna be honest, that's some really dark stuff. Now, admittedly, one could make the argument that Olimar, and by extension the other captains in the franchise, are basically using the Pikmin as slave labor, and that's already pretty dark as is, but I feel like there's a bit of ludonarrative dissonance between how Olimar feels about the Pikmin and how the average player would treat the Pikmin. Olimar has shown in multiple points that he does care a lot for the Pikmin, and even in some of the journal entries that he has in the first game, if the player loses Pikmin for the first time, Olimar actively laments the fact that he wasn't able to save them. Anyways, seeing this big misunderstanding, the Pikmin are scared for their lives, and as Olimar tries to go to them, they believe that they're next on the chopping block. Luckily, they realize their mistake as soon as Olimar pushes past them to grab some Pikmin carrots to make another smoothie. This is a simple little animation that acts as a bite-sized appetizer for the main event, so there's not really much to talk about here. That being said, quick thing, anybody else think that the drinks that the Pikmin are thinking that they're going to be made into look adorable? Maybe that's a little bit dark for me to say, but at the same time, you put googly eyes on anything and it just looks silly and adorable. Alright, now to get to the real meat and potatoes with Treasure in a Bottle. It starts with this red Pikmin here, who, according to the intro to my video, is named Steve. Thank you, Chugga Conroy, for making a meme out of red Pikmin by calling them Steve. And he's out exploring the great outdoors, chasing down butterflies, and just enjoying life, when he suddenly comes across a giant glass monolith. No, not that monolith. In reality, it's just a disposed ramen bottle. It's been hinted ever since the first game that PNF 404 is actually a post-apocalyptic Earth. And while we can never really say for sure if that is the case, Nintendo just loves putting in real-life objects into the games just to really emphasize the scale of these Isun-sized creatures. Regardless, Steve is infatuated by the marble that serves as the cap of the ramen bottle, and goes on an expedition to retrieve the shiny orb. Not gonna lie, I always wanted to try pulling out the marble in those enticing bottles, just to fidget around with them. Steve is inadvertently nearly run over by the giant orb and sent to the bottom of the bottle, where, because of the incline of the bottle and how it's positioned, he's basically stuck in there. Plus, even if he was able to get near the top, the indents in the side of the bottle that keep the marble in the little space up top would basically be a near impossible hump to cross. Luckily, all hope is not lost as a trio of Pikmin, clad in the original colors from the first game, come to Steve's aid, after having a good laugh about his predicament in his glass prison. Small thing, but I love how the solutions the yellow and blue Pikmin come up with are very indicative of that specific Pikmin type's strength. Blue Pikmin are the only Pikmin that can swim, and as such, suggests using water to allow Steve to float out of the bottle, ignoring the fact that Steve is a red Pikmin, and as such would drown before he ever reached the top. And in the first game, yellow Pikmin were the only ones that could hold bomb rocks, and as such, our long-eared friend here places one right next to the bottle, much to Steve's horror. And the explosion blasts the poor guy high into the air, only for him to fall back down into the bottle when he comes back down, and ends back all the way at square one. Good try, Yellow, but maybe you should have thought about how you were going to get him down. Like, maybe use a winged Pikmin to zoom up and catch Steve out of the air? Then again, he could have just flown into the bottle, but I digress. Anyways, our final idea comes when our trio of wannabe problem solvers see a chain of blues and a purple trying to weigh down a butterfly, and get the idea to make a Pikmin chain to grab poor old Steve. I'm gonna be honest, I love this scene. The Pikmin working together to prop up a platform for all of them to stand on, the collaboration of each member making a strong link in the chain, and the combined effort of them along with the purple Pikmin serving as an anchor for the whole group to pull Steve up and out of his cold bodily prison. This is the kind of thing that Pikmin is about. These tiny creatures working together to carry out a seemingly impossible task through strength in numbers, facing off impending foes, using their sense of togetherness to keep themselves alive. God, I love Pikmin so much. However, as Steve is finally rescued, and is ready to leave this all behind, he still wants that marble. So what are the Pikmin to do in a situation like this? Teamwork. The Pikmin working together to carry the whole bottle with their stems alone into the sunset. A triumphant end to this wonderful story. I'm gonna be honest, out of the three, this one's definitely my favorite. The story feels fluid and coherent, the animation looks absolutely beautiful with different textures and tones, and each of the Pikmin have so much personality. You can tell exactly what each Pikmin is thinking, despite the fact that their faces are pretty static and simple. Just from their body language and the expressions of their eyes, you get a lot of character from these little guys. I'm reminded of something a YouTuber I like, Rebecca Parham, aka Let Me Explain Studios, mentioned in her old Q&A video, how you can get a lot of expression from a character that doesn't have a mouth. And I feel the Pikmin definitely exemplify this method of storytelling. As well, the sound design highlights every movement of these little guys, using some of the different sound bites from Pikmin 3 to give emphasis to their different movements. Treasure in a Bottle is a quirky story about a funny situation, and I feel anyone from young children who enjoy some fun antics to the older crowd remembering the nostalgia of old Disney and Warner Brothers cartoons can find something to love in this film. Truly one of my personal favorite stories in media. However, now we move on to the final of our three shorts, being the longest in length and the largest in scale, Occupational Hazards. This story has our Pikmin pals in the remains of an old construction site, basically stripping down a rusted excavator for its parts. Straight away, I have to highlight the scale of this massive steam shovel. The Pikmin are about half an inch tall when not taking the stem into account, so to them, something like this is the height of a skyscraper. Luckily, these guys are pretty durable when it comes to falling from great heights, as seen in the last film. So using a makeshift seesaw catapult to launch them upwards is enough to get them up to where the detachable research drone from Olmar's Pikmin 2 ship is, which I found out through researching for this video is apparently named the Dolphin Shoguki in Japan, or First Machine when translated into English. This means that despite seeing the original SS Dolphin in the first game, this one is basically a prototype, but I digress. Still, even though this system is pretty ingenious, while also being simple, there are still ways it can go wrong. Namely... Man, I don't know what's up with this movie and showing white Pikmin acting like kinda jerks to the rest of the squad. But the two instances that we see whites, we have this scene here, and a later scene where one of the whites is trying to knock over a melted piece of the machine that it broke down with its acid breath. Man, that'd be cool if they could do that in the actual games, without caring about the safety of the others. And when the other Pikmin try holding them back, they try attacking them with said acid breath. Guess you could say that white Pikmin have a toxic personality? Anyways, the first 5 minutes of the short are mainly to show the antics the Pikmin get up to as they deconstruct the machinery. We see Pikmin using their leads as screwdrivers, catching watchers with their stems to comedic effect, and searching some dusty pipes for parts to bring back, with a fun little cameo for good measure. The only time during this segment it really gets more intense is when a group of Pikmin find a fiery blowhog hidden among the pipes. But even then, the threat is taken out thanks to some quick-thinking red Pikmin who use their fire immunity to get on top of it and incapacitate the beast, driving it into the mud. Similar to this previous short, I love how the animators are super faithful to their source material regarding the strengths of each Pikmin. Red Pikmin are immune to fire, yellow Pikmin can harmlessly conduct electricity, blue Pikmin are aquatic, and thus, when they're covered in mud, it cleanly slides off of them, similar to that of a fish's scales. Purple Pikmin are strong and heavy, and white are poisonous. I'd make another toxic joke, but I don't want the pun police breaking down my door. However, the fun times come to an end when a curious yellow finds itself following some golden bolts into a cave and accidentally wakes up a massive spotty Bulborb. These guys are basically the Goombas of the Pikmin world, so it makes sense to have this iconic Pikmin enemy be the antagonist for the story. From here, it's a mad dash to escape this beast, along with some funny antics to entertain the chase. This honestly feels like the kind of thing you'd see in a Scooby-Doo chase scene, with disguises and a hide-and-seek whack-a-mole type sequence. While this could be seen as breaking the tension of the scene, spotty Bulborbs in the Pikmin series are pretty goofy looking in both their appearance and mannerisms, so it's admittedly really faithful to the franchise. Even then, the scene shifts back to serious as Olimar, noticing the carnage about to unfold, lets out a whistle toward the Pikmin to direct them towards the excavator, and the chase is on, complete with using the adaptive boss theme from Pikmin 3. This music really sets the mood of the chase, the tension and suspense filling the air as it plays. Admittedly, I can't and don't feel qualified to properly give the music in this scene the attention that it deserves. So I'd like to once again direct you towards the YouTuber Scruffy for their video on not just this song, but all the boss music in Pikmin 3 and Pikmin 3 Deluxe. They really know their stuff on music, and their videos are some of my favorites on YouTube. Getting back into the action, the Bulborb eventually catches a couple of Pikmin in its mouth, and unlike previously where the Pikmin were able to comedically escape out of its nose, we see these Pikmin actively getting eaten to death, complete with the classic Pikmin ghost and the harrowing coming from them. You even see the Bulborb spit out the disembodied stem of a poor red. While this isn't enough to make the scene overly graphic, as no blood is shown, and despite the disembodied stem, there's no real gore to the scene. You can feel how the tone has shifted from a lighthearted chase to a fearful sprint that could mean life and death for these adorable little veggie bugs. And just when it seems like all these Pikmin are about to become this Bulborb's 3-course buffet, good fortune smiles upon our Pikmin, as a horde of yellows fooling around with a loose current from the excavator's battery, which was previously hinted at with the 2 yellows fooling around with it earlier in the movie, accidentally cause a short circuit that turns the excavator on and lifts the shovel high into the air, leading our small group of Pikmin and their would-be assailant to begin to fall to the ground. Though, remember how I mentioned that Pikmin don't exactly take fall damage? Okay, I want to see that show up as a mechanic in Pikmin 4. That'd be so cool. With the Bulborb stunned and the Pikmin safe, there's only one thing left for the Pikmin to do. Charge at the enemy and beat the crap out of it! Would you believe me if I told you that despite the fact that they censor the Bulborb's mangled corpse, that this is not the most brutal Pikmin has been in taking down an enemy? Either way, all this strain on the excavator breaks it apart and sends the Pikmin and Olimar running away from the mess, only for the research drone to return and reveal the entirety of the excavator, now in smaller, easy-to-transport pieces, is worth a whopping 1,007,000,000,000 Pokos. Holy crap! Olimar could buy all of Hakatate with that! Then again, considering how greedy his boss is, I feel his boss could take all that money and it'd end up being the Hakatation equivalent of a certain someone owning Twitter. So probably for the best that we don't touch that can of worms. Occupational Hazards isn't as coherent story-wise compared to Treasure in a Bottle, but it's still a really good story. The entire film feels like a recreation of an actual Pikmin level. And while we don't get as much individual character from each of the Pikmin compared to the previous movie, there's still so many fun quirks from the Pikmin interacting with the environment that really show that they aren't just a collective hive mind. Honestly, it's hard to compare this movie to Treasure in a Bottle, because both of them have different stories to tell. One's a more personal story, while the other is a slice of life showing the antics of these adorable tiny creatures at work. Combined with the Night Juicer, and you have a trio of really enjoyable films that are fun for the whole family. And that was the Pikmin short films. 3 excellent looks into the Pikmin world that are a fun ride from start to finish. All without saying a word. If you want to watch them all yourself, all 3 films are available on YouTube for you to watch right now. and it'll take about 20 minutes to get through them all, so why not? Sadly, the original versions have been removed from the 3DS and Wii U eShops back in 2020, as a consequence of them being put up on YouTube, as well as both online services set for termination within the next year. Unfortunately, this means that the bonus features that Nintendo included for the app that show the films can no longer be seen unless you have a Wii U or 3DS that have already downloaded it. These are mainly small videos showing the original storyboarding for the 2 longer movies, as well as some small animations of collaborations between Nintendo and both Toho Cinemas and Realty 3D Cinemas. Still, you can probably find them on YouTube if you dig deep enough. Either way, I think that's all I have to say on this collection. Truly a wonderful addition into the Pikmin family of media. So until next time, this has been the Tiefling of Trouble, Jenny Blaze, saying, shine on, Tieflings and Tieflets!